8 things on the agenda tonight. It is going to be quite a hefty agenda, and so we need to try to keep. No, I'm looking both ways. I'm looking both ways. We need to make sure that we keep our questions quick and concise and try not to repeat ourselves if possible. We kind of want to try to be out of here before 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, right? So that being said, but I don't want to short change us though if people have questions and need to get clarification either. So we want to just make sure that we're staying on task. That being said, I call to order District Advisory Board for District 3 for November 6th, 2019. Has everybody had a chance to see the agenda? Does anybody have any changes or corrections other than paring it down?
Covered legs, how cool.
I have a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Has everybody had a chance to see the minutes for October 2nd, 2019? If you have, are there any changes and corrections that need to be made at this time? If not, I would entertain a motion for approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion for approval and a second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. There are no staff reports this month from Wichita Fire Department, Wichita Police Department. As you can see the note here, they will resume on a bi-monthly basis in February. We have such a heavy agenda today that we decided to postpone those. But as everybody knows, go to a neighborhood association meeting and you'll get all the information you need from your police and fire department at your neighborhood association meeting. So you don't have to miss out on any information. Under new business, first thing, we have Mark Elder with Housing and Community Services here to talk about the 2020-2021 second year annual action plan for CDBG, home, and ESG funding. Mark?
Okay, well, thank you, Councilmember. Good evening to you and also to board members. Mark Sandberg for the Housing and Community Services Department. We have 2 items for you tonight, a brief presentation regarding or the city's entitlement grant programs, and then also we have an item whereby we'll be looking for a nomination for the 2020 Grants Review Committee this year. So we'll start off with this brief presentation about our entitlement grant program. Because that many pictures, right side.
That's a very good question.
Oh, no, that's right.
Too far away, maybe?
This may be too.
No, up there. Yeah, I'll try that.
Okay, let me see if I can click.
Oh, okay.
It might be distance.
Oh, okay. That'll be good. That'll be perfect. That's no problem.
Or it might just be I don't want to work for you time. Oh, there's our laser. Okay, I will just manually click for you.
Okay, well, thank you. Okay. Well, the city is considered to be an entitlement city by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which makes the city eligible to receive community development block grant funds and also home investment partnerships program funds and also the emergency solutions grant funds. And I'll tell you a little bit more about each of those programs in just a moment. We receive these allocations annually. Funds are utilized to create strong, sustainable, inclusive communities and affordable housing. So, and then also we design our activities to align with the city's goal of creating a livable and sustainable community as well. The types of funds we've received, as I mentioned before, Community Development Block Grant, that's also known as the CDBG program, which has a little orientation on all of our acronyms this evening too. The Community Development Block Grant program can be utilized for a wide range of community development needs, very flexible program. Our funding last year was about $2.8 million We also have the Home Investment Partnerships Program. It is used to create affordable housing for low-income households. The amount received for the last program year was about $1.4 million. We also have the Emergency Solutions Grant Program, formerly known as the Emergency Shelter Grant Program. That was, the name was changed, I believe, back in 2011. It is used to address homelessness needs, and in 2019, 2020, the grant amount was $238,000. Just briefly on this, the way the grant amounts are determined has a lot to do with the city's census statistics and age of housing, number of low-income households in the community. What happens is the Congress appropriates the funds, and then it's all entered into a formula, and then the funds are spread all across the United States. It's kind of like a pie. Congress appropriates the pie, and then with the formula, they cut it up into so many pieces, and so we get one piece of that pie. It's good news. So, ready to go.
When do we receive the funds?
Our program year starts July 1st. Some of the elements of our planning process, they include the 5-year consolidated plan. This is a process by which we identify community needs and spending priorities for the 3 programs. So we went through that last year, updating the 5-year consolidated plan. Also, annually, we have to prepare an annual action plan, which allocates estimated funding amounts for all of the defined activities that for the needs we've identified in the consolidated plan as well. This year, we're working on our second program year action plan. It's due beginning July 1st, 2020 and ending June 30th, 2021. You might ask, wow, our plan's not due till May the 15th, but we have a lot of things we have to do between now and then before we are able to submit our plan to HUD. We'll talk a little bit about that schedule too. So. Our timeline, just briefly, we have between November and of this year and February of next year, we'll gather some public input. We'll go about the process of developing the annual action plan. In December, we'll go to the council to appoint the grants review committee, and we'll also issue requests for proposals. In February, we also convene the grants review committee to review proposals and make funding and have them make funding recommendations for the city council, and we develop a preliminary spending plan for the funds. In March, the city council authorizes opening of a 30-day comment period for our annual action plan. This is part of our citizen participation plan. We make the plan available online and at the public libraries and also at the neighborhood centers. And then in May, the city council approves the final spending plan after the close of the 30-day comment period. And then we submit our plan to HUD on May the 15th. Program year begins on July 1st. CDBG, with respect to the CDBG grant, there's certain qualifiers for activities. First, it has to meet a national objective, and there are 3: benefit to a low to moderate income, persons or neighborhoods, prevention of slum or blight, and also addressing urgent community needs. Typically, we never see the third one, the urgent need. That has to do with disaster declarations, and we've been fortunate over the last several years to not have a disaster declaration within the community. CDBG funds must be also used for an eligible spending activity. Kind of the way I heard it put in training, it makes a lot of sense. It's like a two-sided coin. You have one side of the coin that's the national objective, it has to meet that, and then you have the other side of the coin that is the eligible activity. And then not less than 70% of the spending through the program must benefit low to moderate income persons. Additional CDBG considerations, there is a limit on public service category items, and I'll talk about that in just a little bit, what comprises those. It's $1,163,310 for the city of Wichita. That is somewhat high, actually. The cap is actually 15% of our grant, and we have a grandfathered public service cap within our CDBG program that allows us to go higher than what the current limit is. This is because in the past, our funding has been as high as $5 to $6 million. Funds can only be used based on a memorandum of understanding that we enter into with other departments for uses of the funds, such as public works or possibly metropolitan area building and construction department. And also, we issue RFP for contractual services with private tenders or what we call subrecipients for various public service activities. Funds cannot be allocated to a specific provider or allocated to a specific provider or for an ineligible purpose. With the CDBG funds in past years, we've addressed infrastructure improvements in low to moderate income neighborhoods and opportunity zones. In District 3 in the past, there were some improvements made to Friendship Park and Hilltop. We also have a project on board for improvement of Mount Vernon Avenue, I believe, between Oliver and Woodlawn, if I remember correctly. Like I mentioned, we've done park improvements such as Friendship Park. We also have this program here that we're currently in, a facade improvement program for businesses that serve low-income neighborhoods. We're looking to allocate some funding to help them improve the appearances of the buildings. We also have our home repair program. That's something that I have direct responsibility for. We allocated almost $1 million for our home repair program last year for both program delivery, the staff that delivers the program, and also projects. What we do with that is a lot of replacement of furnace, air conditioning units, hot water tanks, water and sewer service lines, and those kinds of things. We've also provided funding for remodeling of bathrooms for elderly homeowners so they can age in place, make some ADA improvements, and make them more accessible. Also, we provided funding for the Metropolitan Area Building and Construction Department for demolition and clearance activities. This has to do with vacant houses or structures that might be condemned by the city council and are presenting a hazard to the neighborhood. That meets the slum and blight national objective that I spoke of earlier. Yes.
About how many homes were removed then?
I think the last memorandum of understanding was for 10. City Manager's Office, we provide funding for the Office of Community Services, and also we provide funding for the Housing First project that works in our department. We have a staff member that has the responsibility, works with the county to deliver what we call the Housing First program. Might have heard about that. We work closely with the homeless outreach team for the police department. We provide funding for rent and utilities assistance for individuals who are chronically homeless. And so the CDBG funds provide funding for salary for the person that administers that program.
And so in the city manager's office, just so you guys are clear, Office of Community Service is what Maddie is employed through.
And Janet.
Well, and Janet.
Yeah, how do you determine what is moderate income?
Well, that's a good question. The income for a family of 4 right now, I had that written down here just a moment ago, but it's 80% of median. I believe it's about 58 for a family of 4. That's what that is.
Okay, but then if you do bathrooms for seniors that don't have but 4 people in the household,
Oh, and that was just one example. It's stratified by the number of people in the house.
Oh, okay.
So oftentimes through that program that I mentioned, we serve individuals who simply have Social Security income and not much else. So most of the people we serve in the program are well below 80, most often below 60% or so.
Thank you.
HUD publishes those income limits annually based on census data and other statistics. Yes.
Does a homeowner contract for that, or does the city have any kind of a relationship with remodeling?
The homeowner selects the contractor. We review the estimates and proposals to make sure that their costs are reasonable.
And they have to go through an inspection.
Correct, yes. We develop the specifications for that, as far as what exactly the contractor is supposed to do, so there's a complete and clear understanding of how they're supposed to carry out the project and then inspect it upon completion.
Now, is this a grant or is it a loan?
The way we provide that on the home repair program is a 5-year forgivable loan. There's no prorated forgiveness, but we file a lien against the residents, and then after a period of 5 years, as long as the homeowner is still there, we forgive it. Just release the lien. We talked a little bit about the city manager's office, Office of Community Services, and Housing First as well. So we're ready to move on, Maddie. Okay. Other items that we found in CDBG, these are public service items, domestic violence shelter services. In recent years, we funded 3 agencies, Harbor House, Wichita Family Crisis Center, and Stepstone. We served last year 853 individuals through those programs. Youth crime prevention and enrichment, we've served 3 organizations there, YMCA for a middle school after-school program, Mental Health Association for a mentoring program for middle school age kids, and then also the other provider is Big Brothers Big Sisters for their program as well. We also provided funding for training and employment activities, specifically the Way to Work program that's administered in the Housing and Community Services Department for low-income youth that are residents of public housing or the Housing Choice Voucher program. Okay, under the home program, we have we fund activities for home ownership, down payment, closing cost assistance loans for low-income home buyers. We also provide funding for development subsidies, housing development, redevelopment activities. We work with organizations such as Habitat for Humanity, Mennonite Housing, Power CDC. We work with private developers as well. We also provide funding for community housing development organizations. There's a requirement that we set aside 15% of our home grant for community housing development organizations. And then we also provide operating support for those organizations. It's only about $50,000 per year. Community housing development organizations, we also call them CHODOs, and that's another acronym that we have. Mennonite Housing is a good example of a CHODO, and I'll talk a little bit about them. But administration is also another item that we fund people to administer the program at the city.
Now, is the city doing any land banking?
Not at this point. There's been discussions of that, and those are ongoing, but that's something that is being looked at. Yes. But not currently, anyway. Not officially. It hasn't been established at this time. For the CHODO set-aside, we issue applications for that funding, and it must be utilized for the development of affordable housing. Actually, the CHODO set-aside is one thing that the grants review committee looks at when they convene in February. It's one of the components that's required by the PRC. And CHODO requirements, wanted to share a little information with you about that. CHODOs must meet certain organizational requirements. They must be a 501c3 nonprofit organization. They have to have capacity to manage their financial affairs and have capacity to manage federal grant funding. They also have to have capacity and experience for the development activities that they're proposing to undertake, and also experience serving the community. There must be community representation on their boards. 1/3 of their board must be representatives of low-income communities or low-income citizens, or can be elected representatives of neighborhood associations that represent low-income neighborhoods, such as, like, for example, Hilltop, I think at one point in time had an elected representative. Also, there must be a lack of for-profit or public control, and there their main purpose for existence is outlined in their articles of incorporation and its development of affordable housing.
Do you have any examples of who's doing this now?
Oh, the Chodos?
Right.
That would be like Mennonite Housing or Power CDC. Currently, Jacob's Ladder is another organization that we work with. So lots of requirements to be a Chodo. It's not real easy to be a Chodo, given all the requirements and the board composition that has to exist there. We've worked with Habitat for Humanity. They're not a Chodo, but we work with them under our housing development loan program as well.
Federal funds for housing improvement. Are felons not able to get those?
You mean for rehabilitation?
No, for their homes. My understanding was that Mennonite Housing was going to be doing some work constructing in some neighborhoods, and because the funds came from the federal government, anyone living in that neighborhood who was a felon would not be able to remain housed or be able to be benefited by those federal funds. I think it also goes through for people who have a status that's questionable, a naturalization status is questionable.
Oh, okay. Well, with the federal funding, when we provide down payment assistance loans, applicants must be citizens or they must be permanent residents. They must have some type of permanent residency status. I think.
And what about the felons?
And on that side of it, that's not something that we look at. I think that as long as they're able to qualify for a first mortgage loan, we can assist them if they own their home and have legal title to it. That's not something we really ask about as far as felons are concerned or anything like that. That might have had something to do with a project that was funded with low-income housing tax credits and background checks on tenants, I would think.
So that may have been it because it was a low-income neighborhood. And so I'm wondering so there's no monies available in that situation, or that whoever had the felons would have to move, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not real sure about that. It just depends on, some of those are conditions of the low-income housing tax credit program. I'm not absolutely certain.
Okay.
But Mennonite does develop housing with that particular program, and it's rental housing most often. And so they do a background check, and tenants must pass those background checks, and also other qualifiers involving credit. Okay, make sure they have the ability to do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Moving on to the Emergency Solutions Grant Program. I mentioned it used to be called the Emergency Shelter Grant Program. It's now Emergency Solutions Grant. This has to do with the federal government wanting to see solutions to homelessness, not just shelter activities. And so as a result, we now have a cap on the assistance that we can provide to homeless shelters, such as United Methodist Open Door or Interfaith Inn, other shelters that we've served include Harbor House, St. Anthony Family Shelter with Catholic Charities. We also provide funding for homeless prevention in this program. This is for individuals who are in immediate danger of becoming homeless. They've received an eviction notice, typically from their landlord, and are at immediate risk of becoming homeless. We administer part of that program through Center of Hope. Rapid Rehousing is a program that serves individuals who are literally homeless. They are referred by caseworkers from various social service agencies. We provide very short-term rental assistance and utilities assistance, and also some security deposits as well. HMIS administration, this is the Homeless Management Information System. United Way is the local administrator for that, and that involves compiling all of the statistics for the individuals that are served through the program, and they administer that system. Okay. Shelter services, I talked a little bit about that. This includes shelter operations. A lot of times we fund staff, supplies and materials that are needed to keep the shelter functioning. Sometimes some rehabilitation, we fund that as well. Homelessness prevention, I mentioned rent, utilities assistance for families in danger of homelessness. Priorities. There's always priorities when it comes to the federal funding. What should be funding or what kind of activities should be funded? Should we receive an increase of our annual grant? What activities are highest priority? Which activities are the lowest priority? And then are there urgent needs? As I mentioned before, there really hasn't been any urgent needs here recently. We've been fortunate and haven't had any disaster declarations in the last few years, but we're here tonight to just gather your thoughts as far as the many different activities that we fund, and if you have any thoughts on the activities that we do fund, or you feel like there's activities we should fund. So, yes.
Are we getting more or less funding this year than we did last year?
We are preparing our plan with the assumption it'll be level funding. So I think CDBG, it's my understanding the federal allocation is about the same as last year. So we're anticipating it to be about the same.
How do you define the opportunity zones? What are the qualifications for that?
Oh, okay. There are, here in the city, I believe there are 5, if I remember correctly. And I didn't bring that map with me, but it had to do with areas that have low income census tracts and meet that criteria. We applied for those through the state last year, and were successful in getting those opportunity zones created. So it was a program to incentivize investments in low income communities, to try to offer some incentive for investors to come in and invest in those communities through various ways. It can be housing, it can be commercial business. To help sort of develop the neighborhood and bring business in, better housing.
I just have a question. It's an observation. You know, I look at California and I look at Baltimore. They're eligible for these same funds, right?
They are, and receive quite a bit more than we do.
And, you know, I can see how important it is that this money is spent wisely, and we don't begin to go down that road, because that's horrible for those people that live in this community.
Yeah, certainly. Lots of needs out there. It's always tough to put plans together, and most certainly the activities we do find more funding, and I'm sure there's other needs out there that we just don't have the funding. Yes, sir.
Everything that you talked about, I'm pretty good with. I don't know the correct word. I don't support Habitat for Humanity anymore for my own reasons. But I have a problem when you're taking poor people, and getting them a house that they can't afford. And I've always said that when you have to save, even if it's 10% down or 5% down, it teaches you how to save and work for a goal, and you will take care of it. I've got probably 40 Habitat homes in my neighborhood that has brought the neighborhood down. And Habitat was good. We'd take a house over here that needed refurbished, we'd refurbish it and put them in. Now they're doing whole subdivisions and they're bringing the other area down with it. Now, there's some backline story behind it, and that's why I'm against it. But anybody that buys a house or is going to get a house ought to have skin in the game and have to put up the money. They will take care of it. Years ago, Kansas City had 100 homes that all they had to do was take care of them for 10 years. One gal did it. Got a write-up. I read it in the paper. one guy did it. All the others, the hot water tank would go out, the heater would go out, and they move. No skin in the game.
Mhm.
And that's the only problem I've seen. I'm all about helping the homeless. I'm all about trying to get people on the right track. But I'm highly against any home, helping them get into a home.
Okay, that's a very good point. I can understand your concerns there. Through our home program, individuals that we assist, they have to be able to qualify for a first mortgage loan through a local financial institution. So they have to have income sufficient to support the house payment, meet the underwriting requirements of the lender. We're also required to underwrite those loans to make sure that the ratios concerning their house payment to their monthly income and their house payment plus any monthly indebtedness that they might have with respect to their income is reasonable, and that we aren't setting anyone up to fail as far as that goes. And so actually back in 2013, HUD implemented some additional rules for participating jurisdictions that offer home buyer assistance programs in order to the extent that we had to start actually documenting the underwriting of our home buyers. We also do not allow home buyers accessing the program to have loans like adjustable rate loans or balloon payment loans or any type of predatory type loans, subprime loans, I guess is what they used to call them. So we try to do those things, and we've seen a very low default rate in our home buyer program. So it's gratifying. A lot of times we see homeowners that stay there for quite some time. We don't hear from them ever, then one day they're turning up, selling the home and paying our loans off. So,
Jared?
Well, Richard mentioned skin in the game, and I was on this committee last year.
Sure.
It was an eye-opening experience for me. I'm glad I did it. You mentioned skin in the game, and they do have to have skin in the game. Like, they have to bring their own bank. They have to, they were just given a home. They have to secure their own mortgage. They have to secure their own, funding and do just like you would to have to buy a home. It's just that the home is facilitated and the building is facilitated through the charitable organization rather than just going and contacting the builder themselves.
Yeah, I know how it all works
Okay. They have skin in the game. I said that.
Anybody
to
down here?
some degree.
Michael?
I'm gonna ask you a question that you don't have to answer, but I would like to know a little bit about your background. Schooling, have you degree in urban renewal or?
oh, okay. Well, certainly. I'm a graduate of State University, and my prior life before working at the city was actually in banking. Worked in mortgage loan servicing and also originating mortgage loans for some time as well. So,
It sounds like you know how to handle it.
well, thank you.
Mark's actually a very good expert, very knowledgeable. Yeah.
Thank you.
Home ownership brings a real responsibility on maintenance, like changing your filter monthly.
Oh, certainly.
And also draining your water meter and being able to work a little bit on your electrical, changing the light bulb. Do you do anything to these potential home buyers to acquaint them to the maintenance issues that they need to cover? Cover your outside fence, to the so that they don't run into the emergency problems that, like.
Oh, certainly. And some years ago, and we still have this actually, we have a booklet for our homeowners that talks about some of these maintenance items that are most commonly addressed by homeowners, things like replacing furnace filters and exterior maintenance and things like that. So we always feel like there could be more done in that regard. I'd certainly like to see that. It's just a matter of the resources. We do require our home buyers to attend a home buyer training class also. Mennonite Housing offers those, and so does Urban League. Mennonite Housing is affiliated with NeighborWorks, which is an organization that has some very good resources for home buyer education. They try to make the potential home buyer familiar with with the type of documents that they'll be signing, things that they're shopping for a home, and so forth.
Anybody else? Yeah, go ahead.
And I'm probably going back too far, I suppose, on current level of ignorance. And I'd say it was late 60s to mid 70s. We had a program around here, local housing authority, that built some fairly nice homes, like down off the Catalina and Hydraulic area.
Oh,
And-
those are
and-
Wichita Housing Authority.
Is that what that is now?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
South of Ridge Road and Central, I believe.
That's also a housing
Okay.
authority.
So are those homes that you now have people buy rather than rent or whatever?
At one point in time, we had a public housing home ownership program, but we no longer offer that. All of those units are actually will undergo rehabilitation through our rental assistance demonstration program that's currently underway.
Well, my reason for asking was in that era, I worked for a glass shop, and I knew nearly all those addresses by heart because I was there for 2 weeks replacing storm doors, windows. I mean, it was like every Friday night they got drunk and busted out everything in the house, and we got to go rehab it. I mean, it was ridiculous.
It does
The
happen.
abuse that those houses took.
Yeah, it's a landlord-tenant relationship, and so there is.
And the landlord then was the city.
The city of Wichita's housing.
That's all you need to know.
Isn't the city still responsible for that?
Yes, through the Wichita Housing Authority. It's separately funded by HUD, not from the city general fund. Also, I mentioned that we're currently undergoing a conversion to the what we call the rental assistance demonstration program. So those homes will be converted to a tenant-based rental assistance platform where each of the tenants will receive monthly rent assistance depending on their income, and then the properties will be privately managed.
Anybody else?
Can I speak? I'm sorry, didn't mention.
No, absolutely you can speak.
I know that, but I won't be in order. I had an idea several years ago that on some of these low-income homes, if they did part of the rent, instead of deciding to get what we call equity in our homes, that when they moved or left, that equity would go into rebuilding the house or redoing the house. And if they stayed for 10 years, or like you said, then the equity would go to them and make them whole again or whatever. I just wondered if there's ever been a program to the effect that you've got money invested where you can tap into for new hot water tank or new stuff as you go along.
Oh, okay. Haven't had anything like that. At one point in time, there was a maintenance reserve program that was set up for housing choice participants in the housing choice voucher home ownership program, and also in that public housing home ownership program.
Well, it looks like to me, if you took, they broke out a window and they had to take it out of their fund and put it into their house, the windows and air conditioning. Huh?
They might care more.
Yeah, they'd have a little money in their pocket.
Now they might have plywood in there.
So Mark, are there federal restrictions? And we're talking about federal money that we are allocating to these houses, right? It's not City of Wichita money directly, although obviously taxpayers pay their
Certainly.
taxes to the federal
tax
government,
funds,
right?
Yes.
So what are the rules that HUD puts on those sorts of programs and us developing those sorts of programs?
As far as the housing authority
Yeah.
is concerned.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm not directly involved in the operation of the housing authority programs, but there's certain things like rent limits, and we're talking about tenants, right?
Yeah, right. And again, talking kind of dovetailing what they're saying, taking some of what they pay and setting it aside and that sort of thing for improvements.
Well, the rent that the housing authority tenants actually do pay some rent. It's dependent upon their income, and that rent goes into the housing authority operation to help fund maintenance activities and repair and things like that. There's a security deposit that is collected from the tenants, and there's terms to the lease, so tenants can be evicted from the program as well, so.
Well, like you said, you know, if you got skin in the money, you get down the road a little bit, like 3 years, and see you got $1,000 into this equity fund, or I don't know what you want to call it, some sort of fund. They won't just get up and leave and break all the windows out and leave, you know.
Oh, certainly, certainly.
Maybe it's, wait a minute, I got $1,000. If I put it back in, you know, fix it, I can have at least a decent house. I don't have.
Mhm.
You go down, I think South First down here, is that a housing authority down on Hydraulic?
Yeah, I believe.
All of those ABC streets are a hot mess.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You go down through the front yards, there's no grass there, the front storm door is off.
So,
And the front door standing wide open, and they're beautifully brick homes.
Right.
so if,
And Plainview's kept up better.
Yeah.
if those houses are owned by Wichita through the through HUD, there's a wholesale remodeling of all of our houses that are getting ready to happen. They're aged pretty, and there's a big program through the federal government that is allowing us to rehab every single house inside the city of Wichita's inventory right now. So you're going to see a lot of those houses start to get fixed up.
That's correct.
This current administration actually is the one that is helping with that program. So you'll see a lot of those houses start to get, and actually it's going to keep a lot of contractors in the city of Wichita busy.
Certainly will. Certainly
So,
And then what assurance?
hold on. Oh, no, go ahead.
What assurance is there that then they stay in their rehabbed condition? I mean, who,
There
is there
have,
insurance on them? And if so, who pays it? Or is the city self-insured and just goes out and spends whatever it takes whenever it happens?
Oh, go
oh, go ahead, Mark.
All right. Well, one thing I was going to say, actually, because I saw an insurance claim come through on a home where there was a fire. So we do have insurance on the homes through the Housing Authority Insurance Corporation. I believe it is. I can't remember for certain, but they do have insurance on all of those units.
So the tenants or whoever don't pay a premium for insurance.
They don't.
Nor
like any
deductible.
other landlord-tenant operation, it's a landlord's responsibility.
Yeah, but you're not renting it. You don't grab it, you don't have to.
Yeah, you don't have to have it. Wait, yeah, go ahead. You've been waiting.
And I'm gonna stay off of those houses. Back to like prioritizing the grants.
Sure.
I would like, I mean, if I got to choose how the money was spent,
Okay.
if it was my world, which it's usually not. But to me, the highest priority is taking care of people, older people,
Certainly.
that have been in their house, they've paid their mortgage, they've paid it off, or they've kept up on their payments, but they need help to stay in that house.
And that's one thing we do
You know,
through our home repair
I mean,
program.
you know, you were asking for prioritization. That would be my highest rank.
Okay.
You know, taking care of those people that have taken care of us,
Mhm.
you know.
And we do.
And yes, I worry about homeless people and, you know, all those and the people that, you know, need help for their rent and blah, 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 blah. You know, I mean, yes, we give, you know, food for food bank and we, you know, all that, but let's not forget those people that have done what they're supposed to do their whole life. They've paid their mortgage, they've taken care of their children, they've paid their taxes, and then they need some help.
Mhm.
And, you know, it's some,
Pardon me?
How do you do that?
Well, we actually do serve a lot of senior citizens
Yeah.
through our home repair
and so
program.
I would, you know, I would rather, you know, when we get money and grants and things, I would rather more money go towards that
Mhm.
then people that are always standing, the people that are standing at the Walmart parking lots every day with their hand out,
Yeah,
Okay.
Walmart should run them off.
it's just what and I don't mind helping
Mhm.
in all those other ways also, and I do,
Certainly.
because, and I think most people do in the end. They give to a food bank even though, there's people working that system and, I help clean up those houses, the ABC Street houses, even though I know those people are working that system too, I help. But in the end, I would like to pay back the people that have already worked,
Certainly.
so
Well, thank you for your
that would be
input.
my highest.
Cindy, go right ahead.
Mark, I love technology today because somebody's watching and asks a question. Is there a CDBG committee tomorrow and where is that at?
Not
No,
tomorrow.
Not tomorrow,
Not
okay.
tomorrow.
I'll let them know, not tomorrow then.
Right. We do have a community services block grant program within the department, CSBG, that has a very good needs. I don't know if that could be it. I don't know about that, but nothing related to CDBG committee.
You can find it on wichita.gov. You look for boards on wichita.gov.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess my concern is, if you know somebody needs help, exactly where do they go? I mean, say they go to their church, say, I'm in dire need, I know the city has programs, but I haven't been to a GAG meeting, so I don't have the information that you've given us. So what's the plan to get to the right source for the help you need?
Oh, okay. Well, and families and individuals could always contact the Housing and Community Services Department. Our department has the rental assistance programs, the Housing Authority program, and then also these entitlement grant programs. It's kind of interesting. I was asked that question one time not too long ago about how do people find out about our home repair program, and a lot of contractors know about it and are aware of it. When people call in, hey, I've got this problem with my furnace, and some of them are aware of the city programs and know about them and can make the referral that way. And then we also have the website. We make information available on the
Yeah, but see, a
website.
lot of people can afford,
Sure.
they may not, they go to the library, maybe on the internet, stuff like that, but they don't always have that.
So I'm going to ask us if we can try to get back onto recommendations here. We'd like to get some recommendations for how the money is to be spent. We have a very hefty agenda ahead of us, so let's talk about recommendations. Marco, go ahead.
Well, I was just curious about the funding here. When one of the funding is exhausted, can you move it to another part? Is interchangeable? Like, for example, the CDBG can be applied to the house. And they need one area, need more money.
Oh, yes. For example, home funds could be used possibly in connection with this housing authority renovation project, or CDBG funding has been allocated for it as well.
And for
So there's some cases like that. It just depends on the eligibility issue with the funds. For example, if we touch a unit with home funds, it has to be completely rehabilitated. That's why we use CDBG funds for the home repair. So.
And when did you guys start to give this time? How long time ago?
Oh,
What
just
year, you know?
several years ago, I think they had a 50th anniversary of the CDBG program some years ago. The Home Investment Partnerships program was started, I believe, in 1992. So, several years.
Richard?
We'll be real quick.
Mhm.
Ron, what you're asking for is a bookkeeping nightmare. They redid the ABC homes. It seemed like 5 years ago. It's probably longer than that. But one
more like 20.
recommendation that I would like to do in answer to her, a lot of times you work all your life You break a leg, you can't take care of your house anymore. You don't know where to go. Or you pass away, your wife has no clue of what to do. We need a program through you guys that can reach out to churches, the city leaders, and make it known, hey, you can call us. I see a lot about where they paint the houses for the needy and stuff. That's a good thing. But by the time it gets out, it's already full. It's booked up.
Yep, there's a lot of need.
But that's how they end up starting breaking down, is because they can't do the upkeep themselves no more, and they don't know where to turn. They don't have the money.
Richard?
I'd like to see that, just to second that as well. The thought came to mind when they were asking how people, Michael was asking how people found out. An obvious place to inform would be the pastors and people involved in the church, people already involved in, maybe Suzanne Bays and NABCG, who has her hand on the pulse of a lot of people in need in the community.
We actually work with her, so.
Yeah, so
We get a
then
lot of referrals.
a recommendation, so I've seen revitalization, at least one, I think there's another one for the Hilltop area. I've seen them come and go, and I don't know that they've ever actually been applied to the Hilltop area. And I don't know what all the people in Hilltop would look for, if it's anything extravagant or if it's something just fundamental, but you know, I'd like to, my thing is, and it goes to the older people too, that every citizen in Wichita, whether they own a home or rent, should have the ability to find peace in their home. Peace is fundamental to happiness. If you don't have peace, it's going to be hard to be happy. And if we can do things, some people are stuck in these neighborhoods. They're not going to be able to sell their home and get out. So they need to be able to flourish where they are. So if we can do, and I think it's incumbent upon the communities to come together and determine what it is that they would want in their homes to give them more peace. And if that would happen, but it seems like Hilltop is a historically important place, and that there are opportunities there that could be helped by a grant. And I ran into a guy at the Manor meeting, 90 years old. He came to Hilltop originally to work on airplanes. He's still alive. And he said, you know, the big change is when people own their homes. He said, I remember when they turned these from rentals into purchasing, people were out in their front yards the next day trimming, fixing their homes. So, I mean, it's really true. I mean, so Hilltop for me is a priority. I don't know why my high school was the Hilltoppers, so maybe I have some affinity for it, but it just seems like it's a priority.
Well, thanks, Richard. Anybody else from our
Only thing I
advisory?
want to go on with his story there is, I think you should put some money in a pot that says here it is, if you move out, if you need your house trimmed, if you need a new floor, you know, what I just heard from him, if I need a new floor in my house because the termites had ate it up or water damage, I gotta have the whole house rebuilt? Is that what you said? You gotta go in and do?
Oh, I was making reference to the home program.
Yeah, the home.
Interchangeability of funds, and if we could use funds for other uses. And that was just an example I provided. We use CDBG to actually address situations like you're referring to. We can provide up to $5,000 through our home repair program. We have done that to address subfloor
Yeah,
bathrooms and things like that. So it's just different rules apply to each of the programs, and some of them are a better fit for certain
I'm
activities.
sorry, I misunderstood you.
No problem.
Okay. All right, guys, we are going to receive and file this if nobody else has any more questions. This was basically to get feedback from the community about their concerns or what they would like to see funding go to. The next item on our list really goes along with this. It's somebody that we need to nominate, the District 3 Grants Review Committee representative. Mr. Stanberry, we can talk about that Grants Review Committee. I know that we had Jared on it last year, right?
I'm
Jared.
gonna nominate Jared again this year.
You expressed interest, Cindy, last year. I'd be more than happy to do it, but like I said, I found it very interesting. It was an eye-opening experience, but I would suggest someone else who has not done it before. I would suggest maybe they step up and.
I will suggest to nominate somebody else,
Okay.
like myself, to.
I nominate Marco Alcacel.
Thank you.
I took care of that.
Okay, so we have two do we have a second from Marco?
I do.
Okay, so we have two nominations on the floor. Is there any other nominations for this? Now, Mark, I know you have a presentation, but
Oh, that's basically it.
they know what it is. Okay, basically, for those who are watching at home, the Grants Review Committee is basically, we're nominating someone from our District Advisory Board to step up and be the citizen representative on that Grants Review Committee that will take a look at this. So we have two nominations. Do we have any more nominations?
I might just add there, the components of the funding that will be reviewed that you would look at as a member of the GRC, or as I mentioned earlier, the home community housing development organization applications. Also, we'll look at the domestic violence shelter services activity, the youth crime prevention enrichment activity, that funding, and also emergency solutions grant funding as well.
Very good. Okay, so we'll start with Jared. All those in favor of,
Did anybody second my nomination?
yes, down here, somebody did second that. So all those in favor of Jared signify by just raising your hand.
Jared don't want it, so.
Look at that, no hands raised. Oh, Cindy did. All right, all those in favor of Marco signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Marco, for stepping up. We appreciate it very much. All right.
Thank you all so much. Yes, they are actually. They are open to the public. We do actually advertise that they are.
I do think, Marco, here is a sheet that you have to fill out. Oh, okay. Very good. The form. Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. That being said, we're going to move on to our next item. Mark, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you listening. Sure. Thank you also. Thank you.
So guys, I'm gonna ask if we can change up our agenda just a little bit. Would you guys be okay?
Yes.
Hey guys, I'm asking for an official action here, so I need to. No, that you're okay. You're fine. I know you guys fill the app out. I'm going to ask if I could get a motion, if you guys would be agreeable to moving number 6 and 7 before we talk about the South Central Neighborhood Plan number 5.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to move items 6 and 7, the zoning cases, basically, ahead of item 5. Any further discussion? Thank you guys for the move. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're going to start out with conditional use 2019-39. Matt, thanks for being here tonight.
Josh's old tire shop, isn't it?
You are?
Josh's old tire
Yeah,
shop,
we're
isn't
starting
it?
with conditional use 2019-39.
Harry and Greenway?
The applicant in this case is requesting a conditional
Yep.
use to allow outdoor vehicle sales on property zones with limited commercial. The site's located at 611 West Terry.
Yep.
The subject site is developed with a one-story masonry service repair building with 2 garage door openings on the north side. The building has been a service station since the 1950s. A tire business was in operation at the location in 2018. Per the zoning code, outdoor vehicle and equipment sales requires a conditional use in the limited commercial zoning district. Limited commercial zoning to the east of the site is predominantly developed with single-family dwelling units with retail commercial businesses located at the corners of the local streets intersecting this area. There is a used car lot located 3 blocks east of the subject site that was approved by the Planning Commission in 2018. So as I'm sure you guys know, the location guidelines for the South Central neighborhood and the South Central neighborhood plan identify least desirable land uses. Used car sale lots are specifically identified as least desirable use and are strongly discouraged. In this case, the staff is recommending denial of this request. The staff report also does include potential conditions in the case that the Planning Commission determines that the request is appropriate.
I move we endorse the commission's recommendation.
Okay, we have a very quick motion,
Second.
and we have
the motion?
the motion. We will have more discussion, so it's okay.
Yeah, if you want to.
But we do have a motion on the floor, so I have to recognize that. We have a motion on the floor to take staff's recommended action. We have a second. Now, any further discussion on this?
Is the business owner or property owner here?
Yes, sir.
Can you step up and tell us a little bit about your project and what you plan to do yourself with how long have you owned the property? What are you planning to do
Good
with
point.
it? How many cars do you expect to have on that property to sell?
Actually, it's not my property, but I'm the agent to
The agent.
Yes, and it's basically to do a car sales, used car sales at that location. And I felt it's going to bring in a certain development, more lightning within that environment, and basically more security too.
Is there a business going on there right now, or did that previous business fail and go out of business?
Yeah, it's no business on it.
So there is no business activity there.
Okay.
With the closing of Perry Street Bridge there next year, there won't be any business there.
Won't be traffic.
Yeah,
There won't be
yeah,
any traffic or anything.
yeah. The bridge is closing. Yeah, but that's up to the owners. Dave.
Yeah, my experience with that building is that it's a tire shop. And I bought a set of new tires there, but that business shut down.
Yeah.
So it's set up, looks like an old service station.
It was a 66 station.
So it really has an auto function.
Right.
And I don't know that you'll see another gas station go back.
No,
in there.
you won't.
So it's all set up. It's got a garage for repairing automobiles inside. It's all auto related. I don't know how you change that profile on that building.
Is part of the business plan to repair as well as sell autos?
No, for sale.
So the existing garage space will not be used to repair the cars.
By the city said, as at this moment, that side is zoned for repair and stuff like that. But we are not interested in the repair. We are just doing car sales.
So it is currently zoned in a way that will allow businesses that would do say like tire sales or automotive sales or repair. It is
No, not automotive sales.
not sales. I'm sorry, I take that back.
Repairs.
Parts is what I meant.
Mechanic and-
Yeah,
Okay.
but not.
I'm very concerned about this. It's that's a pretty small lot. I'm very
And
concerned about
and I totally agree with that.
the size of the lot.
Okay, go. Richard, go ahead.
South Central neighborhood has specifically outlined and said no new cars in lots. I travel that all the time. A repair shop would be one thing, you got cars floating in and out. I'm highly against another car lot going in. We've gotta change the business structure somehow. If you keep allowing the car lots, that's all we're gonna be down there. So I go with the MAPCO decision of no.
I will explain my motion if you'd like.
Sure.
They say, well, it has to meet all these conditions if they go counter to our recommendation. No one polices that whether those recommendations are followed unless there is public
A
complaint. That system is broken. There's no use inviting in another problem.
Anybody else? Okay, and a couple people, just to address real quick, looked a little confused about Harry Street Bridge. It is closing. There's a wholesale rebuild of the bridge that's getting ready to happen.
Okay, so it's not permanent.
No, not a permanent closure, but it'll be 6 to 8 months, probably closer to 8 months on a full rebuild. So.
They're going from 4 lanes to 3.
Mhm.
Across the
Oh, really?
bridge.
What an improvement.
What an improvement.
Okay, let's
Wichita.
state your main. I just wanted to make sure that I was answering because I saw the surprise.
And they're running a return lane clear back here to, what's that street? Gold?
Greenway?
So, yeah,
Greenway?
Greenway. So let's get to the topic at hand. Any further discussion?
Well, I just wanted
Yes, Marco.
to mention about the car lot. I understand that the neighborhood doesn't want any more car lots, but I believe that probably that will be a way for the property owner to make a living. And in my opinion, we shouldn't stop somebody trying to make a business that is a legitimate business. So that's what I go against the denial of the city.
Okay.
And I think we should approve this for the people to try to make a living.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. If there is no other discussion, we're voting on the motion that was to take staff's recommendation of denial. This will go to Metropolitan Area Planning Department. So there will be a public hearing there for the official kind of vote on it. Cindy, I assume you're going to abstain?
I am.
Okay, being,
I did.
so all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I'm abstaining too.
You can't abstain.
I don't understand. I don't understand.
You have to,
I don't like to be able to drive down the street before I get this. I don't quite understand.
She sends these emails a week before each meeting with all the documents.
so,
I didn't realize how serious this was. I'm sorry. Okay. What do you want me to do?
Don't one way or the other.
What would mean?
Why can't I?
Because you don't have a direct financial interest,
you have to have a reason to abstain.
a valid reason.
You have to have a reason to abstain, like, so, okay, so we didn't have a full vote, so, and by the way, the voice vote was hard to hear, so I'm gonna ask for a show of hands in just a
Well, I'm
second.
gonna ask the motion again. What was the motion?
The motion was to endorse, accept, whatever, the recommendation for denial from the staff.
We have, and to recap, we have a non-conforming use being asked for here, a conditional use for a car lot. It is not allowed under the current zoning. The neighborhood association has their neighborhood overlay plan in place right now. And that plan prohibits or discourages, I should say,
Very good word.
more car lots in the neighborhood association. So that was the reason, one of the reasons for the denial from staff. We've heard from the applicant agent. We've also heard things for and against. We've heard the staff's presentation. And Again, the recommendation, the motion was for denial, to accept, to vote for staff's recommendation of denial.
There you go.
Okay, so all those in favor of the motion signify by saying, raising your hand.
I'm saying I
Sorry,
raised my hand.
I know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those opposed? 1, 2, with 1 abstention. All right, motion carries. Next, sir, thank you very much for coming. Thank you. All those, let's see, hold on. Oh, there it is. Next one, zoning case 2019-39 and conditional use 2019-38.
Okay, so this case, the subject property is currently zoned 2-family residential TF3. They're requesting to change the zoning to limited commercial and get a conditional use for vehicle sales. The applicant is requesting a zone change for a strip of land approximately 28.5 feet by 70 feet. That is currently 2-family residential to limited commercial as well as conditional use. The majority of the subject property is already zoned limited commercial. The portion that is zoned TF3 occupies the rear, roughly 30 feet of the property, and acts as a buffer zone between the TF3 zoning and the remaining part of the block. According to the site plan, the lot would have space to display 7 cars in addition to 4 customer parking stalls and 3 employee parking stalls. The applicant intends to use the existing 10-foot by 14-foot structure in the southeast corner of the lot as an entrance. Property abutting the east side of the subject property is an auto repair business that also has a conditional use for vehicle sales. That property is already owned by the operator, owned and operated by the applicant. This is not in the south central neighborhood, therefore it does not have the same recommendation from their plan. So based on that information, MPD staff is recommending approval subject to conditions of the staff.
Pawnee and Washington.
Pawnee and Washington, where the Black Diamond Pawn Shop is. No, that's Harry, I'm sorry. Across the street from the old Radco.
Very, not
Yeah.
quite southeast corner, but one lot away.
There, it may be zoned for residential, but I don't think there's a residence on that block, is there?
Yeah.
Huh?
I
It's an-
believe it's an empty lot.
Right, and then at the end of the block to the east is a large auto repair and or used car. Right. And then you've got, right there on the corners, a guy that was selling Euro motorcycles and things like that. I mean, the whole block is basically being used as commercial anyway.
Is there any discussion on this topic? Richard?
There's if I understood him right, the part that they're wanting to change is a buffer zone to separate the residential from the business. I encourage to keep that buffer zone, to keep it, not to put the guy out of business or anything else, but it's a buffer zone for a reason.
Where is the residential?
It's a lot.
Right
It's-
next to it.
It's a, I mean, it's zoned residential, but I think it's a paved lot.
It is. Looks like it's asphalt. Like
Yeah.
Asphalt paved lot, and then there's,
It's a paved lot between 2 buildings.
I think the only residential is to the south. And a piece of property to the east of Washington would not buffer anything to the south,
Well,
in my opinion.
buffering up against the residential.
There
So,
is no residential to
It
the
can be
east.
a paved lot, but it's still a buffer zone.
so is there a screening, there is a screening requirement, is that not correct?
Yes,
Should be.
and in the conditions.
Privacy fence on the south side.
Yeah, so there is a screening requirement that would butt up to the property, go around the backside of the property, screening it from any
With approved
potential,
materials.
yeah. It'll screen from any residential.
I have a question.
Yes, you bet, Jared.
Why is the staff recommendation different in this case?
Because there is no neighborhood overlay
For one.
on this piece of property. In the other one, there was a neighborhood overlay that discourages the addition of more car lots, bars, those sorts of things. So that's why the recommendation is different on this one.
And there is, what would you call it? Cursory residential to the east of the one on Herring,
True.
for lack of a better term.
Any other discussion? Is the applicant here on this one as well? Okay. I know that gets some of you guys
I
cranky.
am of the opinion that the entire block on both sides of the street is either commercial or a church.
Well, it's known as, it's the carpet cleaning place, and then there's a lot.
Yeah.
And there's,
It's all commercial.
yeah.
The one on the corner is now the carpet cleaning place where they used to sell Euro motorcycles? Yeah, okay, north of the engine builders to the south. Okay. I don't see that it would have any impact on the character of the area myself. That's just me speaking.
There's already the fence out back with the tree
Exactly.
line.
So do we have a motion or recommendation here?
What is it? Is this called disabled? Is that what you call handicap parking?
Probably so. I could assume that it's a drawing, so I'm not sure what they meant.
Huh?
On the drawing where it says,
The applicant made that drawing.
okay,
And that's good.
I'll move that we follow staff's recommendation.
okay,
On basis of.
so we have a motion to take staff recommended action of approval with the conditions that staff has put in there. Any other, did we get a second on that?
Yes.
We did? Okay, sorry, I didn't hear you, I apologize. We have an motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. And one abstention, motion carries. Okay,
If I may belabor the point just one little bit.
Yep.
You know, I talked about the stuff about nobody goes back and checks and see if the conditions are being enforced,
Mhm.
shall we say. Only response, I think that's a horrible system. And another thing is what we're seeing with so many of these little two-bay service stations, very limited parking, very limited frontage, et cetera. I think it's almost time to start thinking about that there should be minimum square footage requirements for used car operations for both lot and office.
okay. Comments recorded for sure. Okay, thank you. All right, that item 6 and 7 are done. We're gonna go back now for your gracious move to the South Central Neighborhood Plan. Matt,
We just endorsed.
you're getting overtime tonight.
Yes. Maddie, is that supposed to-
I think so. It should be, yeah.
Okay, so this is a presentation on the South Central Neighborhood Plan. Here's a little timeline of this process. District 3 used grant proceeds from the sale of the Hyatt to fund a new neighborhood plan for the South Central neighborhood. By the fall of last year, the Planning Commission had initiated this process. A neighborhood advisory committee was put together to help on the plan, and RDG Planning and Design was selected to create the plan. The next several months included community tours, focus groups, a design studio, and an implementation summit. There were several chances for community input. And what resulted was a plan by the locals in the community for the locals in the community. These ideas were developed by community members and supported by community members. This is not the City of Wichita's plan, this is South Central's plan. Basically, the leaders in the neighborhood asked, how do we build social capital while creating places for all? So this plan starts off with the theme of building social capital, building neighborhoods, building communities, and hopefully utilizing that to accomplish some of the other strategic items. The new plan pivots the target user of the document from the administrators to the residents. So whereas the last plan was kind of a guide for the city to use, this is a guide for the residents to use. When the plan is finally approved, it will look like this. It's in very much a magazine format. It's colorful, easy to understand. We want the idea to be that you could drop this off at a coffee shop and it just sits there for somebody to pick up and peruse, or have it on the coffee table. There are, what do we call them? Those images, what are they called? QR codes in here. So if you're looking at it and it talks about, reporting something to ABCD, of course I can't find it earlier.
They can just use their
They can just
smartphone.
use their smartphone and scan it right then and there and say, oh, this is exactly what website I go to make that recommendation.
Matt, if I could ask a question, this doesn't replace the old plan, but just updates the old plan, is that
This
correct?
will replace the old one.
Totally replace it?
Yes.
So, does the, and I guess, I haven't seen anything in here, does the recommendation for car lots and bars and all that still remain?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
I believe that is on page 30.
Hey, shooting left?
Or sorry, page 30 and 31.
Very good.
It carries over that location guidelines from the last plan.
Oh, where is those pages?
Sorry, page numbers might be not. on
No,
there.
yeah, that, he has the book. We don't have it in front of
Right.
us.
We just got the pretty pictures.
It's a little bit after
You got
midway.
one down
I
there.
got one.
Oh, well, okay
We're gonna
then.
keep it down.
Well, I want one before this is over.
I do too.
My very own.
But
She
these,
sent you one.
okay, so
Who did?
we,
You mean I gotta print it in my black and white printer?
yes, okay, Matt.
So yes, the location guidelines that talk about the leases are homeless desirable land uses is included in this plan. But so basically there are 5 themes. Each of the themes have a vision, goals, and strategies. And like I said, this is South Central's plan. Let's see. So the first theme is building social capital. Each theme has a list of action items. The first set of action items is what the locals can do, and the second set of action items is what the city can do. So there are several action items for each of these themes. I don't necessarily want to go through all of them, but the strategies for building social capital include connecting with neighbors on social media, activating strategic zones within the neighborhood association. A lot of the feedback we got was that the neighborhood is very large. It's hard to manage on a neighborhood scale. And so there are some ideas about how you could split the neighborhood into maybe half or into 3 different parts so that people who live closer together and have businesses closer together could maybe meet separately and then maybe convene at the South Central Neighborhood Association less often. There's ideas on organizing volunteer efforts, reactivating the business association that once existed that helps businesses kind of form a cohesive branding or work together for joint marketing efforts, volunteering, conducting leadership training for those in the neighborhood, strategies for what the city could do, assign a neighborhood liaison to attend the different neighborhood meetings. I know Maddie probably does a lot of that, but going to all of the meetings is probably possible. Continuing to police the neighborhood and then updating this plan by 2035. The next strategy is maintaining and improving our homes. So in here, so what the local strategies include is scheduling a spring and fall cleanup. And so like that's one that has one of those QR codes that you can scan that talks about how to set up getting one of the dumpsters out there. Recording nuisance and code violations, or organizing volunteer efforts, launching a faith-based organization. And then what the city can do, enforce the code. We hear that a lot, that enforcing the code is something that the whole community wants, every part of the community. And I know when I took the Delano plan last year to the county commission, I got some pushback, or the plan, which is from the residents, got some pushback by some of the members of the board saying that they didn't want to, hurt community members by enforcing the code and giving them due burden. But something that we constantly hear is that neighbors want the code enforced, and that means investing in more code enforcement. Creating a best practices guide for improvements, kind of what you talked about earlier, kind of how to maintain houses, and an easy guide for people that maybe don't know how to do some of those things. And then growing city-sponsored incentives, loans, grants, and tax abatements for home improvements, as well as educating homeowners about other third-party programs. Yes.
You know, just discussing this property in this development area, that was the former gas station. Do you think the city would be supportive of turning that into a bicycle shop? You know, we're promoting bicycles in the city of Wichita. Would that be something that the potential applicant would be, would that be an ideal location? Would the city support it? Would they be able to get any kind of funding to help them in converting that to a bicycle shop? Is that supporting bicycle?
I know that it would be an ideal location to find out.
It's right there on the bike path. It's right, you know, it would be a great location for one, but
Find an entrepreneur that's willing to do it.
that was where I was going.
That's willing to operate a business at a loss.
But yeah, it would be something like that would be an ideal use. Yep.
So the next strategy is positioning South Central for reinvestment.
And here we go.
Local strategies include, so these are strategies for the locals. Patronize the businesses that are there, support development projects. So when somebody comes in and tries to propose a development, supporting those types of projects if you're supportive of them. Recruiting other businesses, you know, it doesn't hurt if you leave the neighborhood and go to a restaurant or a small business saying, hey, you guys should open a location in South Central. Participate in the planning process, coming to these types of meetings, coming to planning meetings. And then there are couple action items in here for developers. So what developers could do, they should consider the goals of this plan and what the neighborhood wants. Also, there's the action item of supporting development of affordable housing in the neighborhood. What the city can do, activate a community development corporation, CDC. Those have been extremely successful in other communities and even other parts of the town. That would be a nonprofit organization that could help specifically this neighborhood. Leveraging incentives to encourage investments like opportunity zones and tax increment financing, and providing incentives to commercial projects. This is a part of the plan that includes some illustrations of what could be possible. There is up here on the map, you can see the Harry and Broadway development idea. This is when some of the skilled planners from RDG put together some concepts for what that intersection could look like to make it more of a place for people. That includes orienting some of the buildings to the street. If there's going to be development in that area, somebody comes in and proposes new development, theoretically they could look at this plan. No one's forcing them to do this, but here's an idea of a way to make the neighborhood better. Reconfiguring the parking for better efficiency, upgrading alleys by including lighting and repaving. We heard a lot of things about alleys not being safe. The idea on the right, we heard from one developer who was on the advisory committee that had this idea for doing the housing project up in the northwest area, where there's a lot of vacant lots up there. And so kind of the recommendation out of this plan would be that developers look at affordable housing, and then they also included this concept of what a neighborhood up there could look like if it was reinvested in. A couple more recommendations. Simple property for redevelopment. Heard somebody ask earlier about land banking, and that is something that the city is starting to look at. So this kind of just goes along with that. Adopting design guidelines for new development in older neighborhoods. That's something that the Delano neighborhood has. If you develop a new property in Delano, you have to fit certain design guidelines. So there's an idea for that, maybe moving that to other parts of the community. And then maintaining and enforcing the current land use guide map and the location guidelines that we talked about earlier.
Has the city looked at abandoning the old alleyways and just giving them over to the property owners?
Well, there has been some discussion of that. There's some concern with the police and with fire. If a vacation is done, you know, access to some of those lots are pretty long. They're not real wide, but they're pretty long, and so
Some of them have access to their garages on the alleys.
yeah, they do. So it would really be difficult. I think it would have to be looked at on a case-by-case basis. But
Isn't most of them easements also?
there's a lot of utility easements back down behind the alleys as well. That's a good point. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
that's where, at least on our block, that's where a lot of the poles and wiring.
Well, the first block north of Harry, the alley east of Broadway is virtually impassable as it is.
In some of those alleys, because of this plan, we're going to be able to really focus on, and this is something that the neighborhood wants, is a focus on those alleys. And that means having homeowners, educating homeowners that the alleys are their responsibility. They're not the city's responsibility. They need to take care of their portion of the alley up to halfway across it. That means mowing, weed eating, just like they would their own yard if mowing's needed. So I think a lot of people don't realize that, honestly, and some education on that, I think, is the first step in letting people know and starting the cleanup.
Yeah,
Dave?
those utility access, those, as long as you don't build any permanent structure back there, you're willing to relocate your fence. if
Sure.
you need Access, so there's accommodations that the homeowners can take with the city to make sure that the city and
Sure.
the utility companies have access to those right of ways. So
Sure.
there's some real, because what happens is if you put up a fence and you have the alleyway back there, the renters aren't gonna take care of that alley. They don't have any use for it, they can't use it, and so it just becomes trash. You know, the animals are running back in there, trees are growing up in it, it's just a jungle.
Well, it ultimately is on the landlord, right? The condition of the house, right? So,
Well, the way I was, the way that I understood it is that it took both neighbors on both sides of the alley to agree that they wanted to block it off. But they also had to make sure that utility companies and everybody else can get to it.
yeah, and
It had to be two on each side.
well, and it would go through a process. If we were to vacate an alley, there would be a vacation that would go through the whole planning process. And of course, then fire, police, everybody would be able to talk about whether or not that'd be possible. And it's been pretty tough in the past. So, anybody else down here?
Require all landowners on both sides of the alley.
Yeah, all of them.
Dead end in the middle, just for one,
Yeah.
everybody.
Yep.
Okay, start with my short laundry list. First of all, you mentioned the business association. I was informed that the business association from that area would like to come participate in the SWBA meeting this Friday morning.
Good.
At the Valley State Bank on South Broadway, South 47th. That is obviously an open invitation to them. We'd be happy to have them come join us or share or whatever with us. I do have a question. What is a resource processing industry?
Is that on the locational guidelines page?
Yeah, number 1 on page 31.
I would think.
Least desirable land uses for the neighborhood include motels, bars, car lots, and resource processing industries.
Oh, that would be payday loans. Payday
Well,
loans.
why not call it what it is then?
Well, because you've got title loans, you've got
I
payday
know.
loans, there's also, but so that's what that is.
We can't call it short-term high-interest usury. Okay.
How about this predatory lending?
Thank you. I like that.
Okay.
Whatever page this is, what locals can do, patronize neighborhood businesses. Well, why don't you buy some used cars from the used car lots that are there?
Ah.
Oh, that would make more people want to come down there and do business where business is done. Damn, can't do that. Got to go somewhere else. Support development projects. How do you do that before they're developed? I don't understand that one either.
That one would be like if somebody has a zoning case here that they're wanting, let's say, redevelop
Like a bicycle shop.
Into something that's not a car lot.
Or a motel, or a bar, or a payday loaning, predatory loan place, okay. Or, okay, participate in the planning process, okay, well, they do that. The city can activate a community development corporation. Who finances that?
The Community Development Corporation is financed by itself.
Yeah, it's a nonprofit.
It's a nonprofit organization.
Okay. Can we go back to the pipe dream picture of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Z's? There. Perry and Broadway. I take it that this brown structure down here to the bottom on the east side of Broadway is the Dillons and abutting structures, or former Dillons, I'm sorry.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, so there's no plan for it. Okay. Number 1 in red on the west side is like a motel complex and stuff now, which is one of them undesirable uses. You're going to get rid of it and put in a residential and mixed use for population to support business.
Nobody's doing anything, you're just.
Oh, no, this is the dream. This is the goal.
No, it's not.
No,
It's not the goal.
This is
It's just
one
an
example
example.
concept. of
it's an
how it would
example
be.
concept.
They had to have a picture.
Okay, well, it looks to me like you're taking out a tire shop, probably another
So
used car.
everything,
It's just an example.
the city's not going to go in and take out anything. It will all be market driven.
Okay,
It's
what,
planned
what,
not only for the city and for the local, it's also for potential developers. They could look at it and say, oh, this is a potential way to be.
I went to their little facilitated meeting with all the whiteboards and all the stuff about what would you propose and this and that. I went to that, but first of all, how does this fit in with the existing South Wichita Hayesville plan, which extends up into that area, does it not? Which is probably close to 8 years or so old now.
I'm unfamiliar with that.
No.
Okay, well, if you come to this SWBA, I've got a copy in the cubby hole there at the bank. I can show it to you.
I think
I don't mean to sound terribly negative, but this looks like a homeowners association gone completely off the rails. It's just, I mean, I understand you want nice things and you want nice neighbors, you want this and that, but how much money and how much time is invested in South Fork and what have we been able to accomplish? Or what has the developer been able to accomplish? You have to have, just like the bicycle shop, you have to have somebody willing to invest of their time and money in something that will give them a return on investment. So far, nobody has targeted this area for many of the things that you're asking for because they're not seeing an investment that would create a return. I think that makes it very difficult to move forward
I would
with your.
say most of this, almost everything that I've talked about so far is not giving the neighborhood anything. It's about what the neighborhood can do for themselves.
That's the whole point of
Better
this.
organize, to better maintain their homes, to make the neighborhood better, to hopefully energize potential development.
If the neighborhood doesn't have a plan, if there's no plan on paper,
I
then
understand
they
the
don't,
willy-nilly.
then they don't know where they're going. And this is a great guide tool for the neighborhood to get involved and make changes.
Okay, well, you lost a Quick Trip, you lost a Sonic, what else have you lost?
We can't apply for some, the grant money if you don't have a neighborhood association.
And the exact, so this, you made the point by saying that we lost the Quick Trip, we lost the Sonic, we lost because there is no plan for the neighborhood. Delano has changed and has blossomed because that neighborhood decided they were going to put a plan together for what they wanted their neighborhood to look like. And Delano has started to really prosper. And so this south corridor right here has so much potential. There's a lot of, honestly, it's an opportunity for development and to make quality of life better for the people in South Central Wichita. It's one of the most populated areas of the city. And I think it's a good thing for the neighborhood association to have a plan as a guidepost.
Mr. Councilman?
Yeah.
On that, the committee that we had on rehabbing the inner city, one of the points that was brought up is the need for a hub. And the hub concept is that it's something that will draw people into your community. There's a need for them to come. Now, Delano has the brand new ballpark. and all of that commercial development going on here. And so you see all the redevelopment going on in the Delano area. What this organization down here has to have is something to draw the community into this neighborhood so that people will come down here and spend dollars in this neighborhood. And so what is that? What is the hub? What's the draw for this neighborhood?
Well,
An anchor,
There's
like you're saying,
ideas.
like an
Right.
anchor.
there are ideas in the plan for that. A lot of it is around branding and how the neighborhood wants to brand itself. A lot of people have been talking about Old Highway 81 and really kind of capitalizing off Old Highway 81 and kind of the historic nature of the area. There's a lot of potential, and I'm proud of this neighborhood for standing up and saying we want better than what we have now. That's we're asking citizens. We ask citizens to get involved. We ask citizens to let us know what they want, and we gave an opportunity here, and they did. And the city doesn't know how to help unless the citizens let us know how we can help.
Isn't the firefighters museum nearby?
The Firefighters Museum is down there. It's an amazing museum too, by the way.
Try to attract another museum, so make it like a museum area in that neighborhood, so people can probably start thinking, okay, well, that's a place to visit.
Yeah.
Just to see the fire, and the firefighters museum probably won't be, have something else, like the, I don't know, police department museum, or a branch of the Cowtown or whatever, they want to have in that neighborhood, that may help develop the place. Because there is a lot of reputation in that area, so a lot of people are going to go close to that area. But like you say, there's a lot of homes, there's a lot of people that live there who are decent, that they need to have a development that is important for the community. I believe so. And probably they have to capitalize on that museum, like at the point of projection, the point of view, you know. So I don't know, that's just an idea.
Did we have a lot of activity there at Lincoln Park before they took the swimming pool out?
How about that?
Yeah. The neighborhood association utilizes Lincoln Park tremendously, actually, regardless of the pool.
I have a few more slides.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's get to let's move on.
So the next theme, enhancing the experience of moving around the neighborhood. This does include a few projects. So we know that the city does not have a ton of money to support big projects around the city. The RDG, the consultants, looked at what are some cheaper alternatives that could have a bigger bang for their buck. So some of the actions in here are updating the neighborhood branding, lobbying for circulation improvements, reporting, this is for what the locals can do, reporting street and sidewalk efficiencies to the city, turning on the porch light to be better neighbors. And then on what the city can do, redesign Main Street. So there's a concept in here up in the top left corner. Main Street is currently one way, and it's extremely wide. Just with some paint, you could convert that to a two-way street, have parking on the sides, have a middle turn lane, make it easier to access, both sides of the neighborhood, make it slower, because with such a wide street, I guarantee people are going down it very fast.
Well, we have a stop sign now on Main Street, we have it on Mount Vernon, and they don't even, a lot of times stop, they just fly through that stop sign on Main.
Well, sounds like we need to step up some enforcement then.
And the bicycles are where?
The next one is building new sidewalks that connect major institutions, facilitating a retreat program, and improving street lighting. And then our last theme is creating places for all. What locals can do, they can develop a plan for the Boston Commons pilot project. This is an idea that the consultants came up with, that there are a few places in the neighborhood, specifically this one would be on Boston Avenue, where you could turn a section of the east-west street into a community park, and then maybe build off of the alleyways to have different green space for the neighborhood residents. This talks about developing a pilot project on the Boston street area, where you could just get some barricades out and close it down, and then maybe include a few amenities. Be a neat project that is not going on anywhere else in the city that could potentially interest people of coming to the neighborhood. So there are ideas for those in other parts of the neighborhood as well, but it recommends the pilot project to see how that would go. And of course, that would be community driven. If the neighborhood wants that, they would have to support that and have to lobby the city to do something like that. On what the city can do, create a continuous pathway from the dam to Herman Hill Park. It gives a couple ideas for this. Right now, I believe it's Greenway Street, is that what it's called?
That's on the river.
Yeah, it goes along the river. It's a very wide street. You could just take a portion of the edge of that road, still have enough lane width for 2 lanes of traffic that it currently has. You could take that far side of the road and actually just with paint, make it a river trail that kind of goes all the way along that road. That would almost connect up to the existing trail. You'd have to maybe put a bicycle boulevard down Palisade to connect it. But it's a way of kind of pulling in the people from downtown on that bike path, pulling them into the neighborhood and down south to Herman Hill Park. And it's a cheap way to do that. In the long term, of course, you could make that a permanent addition. You could put a sidewalk on the side. So there's plans for that as well. And then there's an idea to build Clark Park. This is, we heard recommendations of having more park space in the neighborhood. Currently, there's a vacant lot on Clark Street. It's just an idea. There could be other spots in the neighborhood as well, but taking a vacant spot and putting in more green space.
Vacant lots on Clark where? At Broadway?
I believe it's more into the neighborhood.
Okay.
Janet, where's Clark Park at?
Well, Clark is the first block south of Mount Vernon.
Yeah, it would be kind of, if you look at page.
I lived at Clark and Lakeville. I didn't know the area.
Yes, it's yeah, near the river.
Greenway, I mean, it's like a block over from Greenway, and probably clear over to Palisade before. So
Okay.
it'd be between Palisade and the river.
So that's south of the house with the fancy observation deck you can watch the river festival from.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's just like a 2-block stretch
Okay.
where there's never been paved on that street.
Yeah, there's a lot of unpaved over there, yes. Okay.
So the next steps for this plan are, Dabs tonight, we're going to go to the planning commission on December 5th. And then if we keep up with the schedule, we'll be going to the city council January 7th and the county commission January 15th.
I'd like to follow up on the fire museum.
Yeah, please
Just a
do.
little bit. Yeah, that's a great thing. And everybody should be happy because the parking lot was formerly a used car lot. Which no longer is, so they should be happy it's not there anymore. But, I don't know how much use you're getting out of the old, where the Lincoln Pool was, but not having a pool there, I would think, doesn't help draw people. Delano has some uniqueness that I think, I may be wrong, but you've got Old Town, which is, bars and so forth and so on. But again, you've got preservation and repurposing of older buildings like a Bricktown and several other towns. And Delano's an awful lot of that too. It's preservation and repurposing. This doesn't appear to me to have much of a preservation element to it. It looks like we want to tear down everything we don't like and put something we do like in. And again, people that are doing business there or have been doing business there are doing a better job of moving out than moving in. So I'm not sure what it's going to take to convince people to go somewhere that doesn't have a vibrant business community at this time.
Well, I will tell you, in all the meetings I've attended, no one at all has ever expressed wanting to tear things out. That is absolutely not. Rehabbing, fixing up, repurposing has been a lot of the discussion. I have a, real quick, that I want to read a letter from Catherine Johnson. She is one of our district advisory board members.
Okay.
She is from the South Central Neighborhood Association area, on this district advisory board. And she says, I apologize for my absence tonight. I wanted to let district advisory board members and the members of the public know that I support the new South Central Neighborhood Plan. The South Central Neighborhood Association is grateful to have been able to develop this plan with District 3 grant from the Hyatt funds. We are also thankful for the inspiration and creativity of RDG and assistance from Matt Williams. Thank you, Matt. We are excited about the new plan and eager to begin implementing it. Neighboring Movement will be partnering with SCNA, at South Central Neighborhood Association, to build social capital at the north end of the neighborhood. We are optimistic that we can kick off 2020 by taking the beginning action steps toward the goals of the plan. Catherine Johnson.
So Catherine was part of the group that developed this.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah. And SCNA is the
South Central Neighborhood
current, I know, it's the current version of the neighborhood association that Los San Clifton started 15 years ago, probably.
No longer.
Where they had a business association and a neighborhood association in the same area.
Richard, you got something?
I've been involved in the South Broadway cleanup for 20 plus years. It has come a long way. Here's what we've got that Delano, Old Town, none of them had to deal with what we've got down here because of 81 being the highway going through here. We were stuck with car lots, a few restaurants, motels.
Absolutely.
And as they went down, the drugs and the prostitution, and even before they went down, back when it was a vibrant highway that ran down through there, it was all there. It has come a long way to clean up. The problem is, what do you do with everybody? Where do you put them? I know you guys want to see the car lots because it makes somebody have a job and might employ somebody else. But if you don't stick to the guns and get other business, it will never change. And in 5 years, we're going to still be doing the same thing. How do you clean it up? Because all we got is 10 more car lots in here. So you have to start. I hate to be that way because I think if somebody wants to put a car lot in and he thinks he's got a better mouse in the spoke, he should be allowed to. But at the same time, nobody in the city has as many car lots in such a short area as we do. Kellogg don't even have that many. We've got a problem. And that problem, if we don't stick to the plan and say no and try to get more business in, once that breaks, I like the idea of Old 81. They did it with 66 and, you know, it did some good. And we can capitalize on that. But we go back when we get something, we've got to support it. You know, it's hard getting people in here because of the low-income neighborhoods and motels and transients. So it is going to be it's a hard battle. But I really believe once we can get south of Lincoln and get some different beauty, whatever, I think the rest of it will break and go through.
So I like what you make some good points. I want to go back to Catherine's, the end of Catherine's letter. What her organization in the neighboring movement, the whole point of building social capital is to build, you know, connections between people, relationships between people, and allow people to feel like they have a say and the ability to go out and make this plan happen, because it really is driven for citizens to have actionable steps for citizens to take. Because you're correct, it says the chicken or the egg. Do the businesses come first or the active citizens? And so it really is going to take both, but it's going to take citizens being actively involved in changing their community. The city of Wichita can come alongside, and we can help with those goals, but unless citizens are going to be actively involved, then it is going to fall by the wayside, and it's not going to be anything spectacular, and it's not going to be a wholesale change. The last plan, a lot of things were accomplished on it, but a lot of things weren't, because it was so intensive on the city of Wichita infusing a lot of money. Well, when the downturn hit, 10 plus years ago now, that really hurt the ability for the city of Wichita to make some of those wholesale changes. Well, with citizen involvement and the citizens making this happen, it makes it a lot easier for the city of Wichita to come alongside and really support something they know the citizens are going to support. So your comments are duly noted, but I think we want to know the chicken or the egg, but really, honestly, this plan had to come first, right? We had to have a plan. If you don't have a plan, then you're directionless. And so anyway, and plans, by the way, are meant to be fluid. Plans are meant to, they're meant to change with the times. They really are, because the neighborhood makeups change, and you name it. Cindy, and then Dave.
So I just wanted, I appreciate what you had to say, Richard, and I ditto a lot of what you had to say. I've sat on numerous planning initiatives. I sat on this one. I sat on the Delano District one. And I don't think we can allow ourselves to use the excuse, we need to just fill this with something, so let's put another car lot there. I don't think we're going to make progress if we continue to do the same things and expect some different results. It's not going to happen. And coming from a community that has, when I moved here from Tulsa, I saw several different areas around Tulsa that had been in the condition that the South Central neighborhood and the Broadway corridor had been in, that have been renewed and revibrated and new businesses brought in. And I think, Broadway, with everything going on downtown, more people moving towards downtown, I dream of the businesses that could be along Broadway. And, I sat here and made a list of, restaurants and bookstores and coffee shops and doctor's offices and art shops. I mean, there's a lot of things that could draw from all the traffic that's downtown. That Delano does some of that, yeah, sure, there's some stuff in Old Town, but if you think about other areas around downtown, Broadway's the perfect place to be able to draw that. But we have to think differently, and we have to do things differently. And we do have to stick with our guns. We can't keep saying, oh yeah, we'll just put another car lot there. There's 72 between Kellogg and 47th Street. That's enough. That's more than enough.
All right. Can I say something?
Sure.
So we are concerned about the type of businesses that we have in certain neighborhoods. It will be a good idea that the city that is have the funds to probably support initiatives like this one, is to make marketing studies in different neighborhoods that are requiring changes on businesses. For example, if they are tired of having car lots in one area, we'll educate the person that had the money to put the car lot to tell them, well, what about you can put this other type of business, but presenting these people with a marketing plan, with a marketing strategy, go to them and say, hey, look, you can do this business here, you can be profitable doing this other business here, etc. That's the only way to make the people, the businessmen, because they're the ones that have the money, the businesswoman, that they're going to put the money to invest in that community, you have to educate them and tell them what kind of businesses will be good for certain location. And that's how a business is successful. You cannot have 50 car lots in one little area or any type of business. You have to diversify the market in each neighborhood, and that's probably what we need to do in this case, that we are so concerned about the development of our community. So each neighborhood should have, in my opinion, a marketing study of what is necessary to have. Like you were saying, Cindy, you know, we can have doctors, we can have veterinarians, we can have certain type of business in this neighborhood, for example. That's something that probably the city council should do in this case.
Cindy, I want to make sure you were done.
Yeah.
Okay, Dave?
Right, are we ready for a motion?
We can be.
I'd like to recommend that we approve the South Central Neighborhood Plan.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor for the approval of the South Central Neighborhood Plan. Does anybody have any further discussion?
I will optimistically vote yes.
Wow, Paul.
Foolishly optimistically, but I will.
Wow, you just swayed my vote.
There's nothing wrong with having a plan or a dream or whatever. Best of luck with it.
All right. Thank you, Paul, for your approval.
Just so you know.
We have a question. Oh, I apologize.
Well, that's okay. I just wanted to, my 2 cents. This is something that I think a lot of the neighborhoods are trying to do, maybe on a micro level. I know Grandview Heights is very concerned with the park and the way the park will be developed. And we all got involved with that and had our say. When a community comes together and defines their vision for how they want to live, and they're doing this kind of work, that is true revitalization.
Good thing.
When that doesn't happen, and the city throws money at it, that's gentrification.
Yeah.
So the idea of empowering businesses who have the money and the interest to commit to a neighborhood and give them some guidance on this would really work well here. That comment that somebody made about the bike shop, because there's a bike path or something right there. They might not know that. There's 4 capitals that we have in this order of value. There is time, there is energy, there's attention, and finally there's money.
Yeah.
And I think it's in that order. You asked a very old person if time is not the most valuable.
Sure.
But we always spend time, right? And we give our attention, we pay attention. If somebody doesn't do that, then we realize how valuable that attention is.
Time is
Right?
money.
And our energy, when we don't have it, we're spent. These people have put in time, energy, and attention on building a plan for their neighborhood. It's incredibly valuable commodity for people to be doing that. And I think that should be rewarded and encouraged.
I'll throw this out to you, and why one of our hubs in our neighborhood is the Lebanese community. We have NJ's, we have an auto dealer or a used car lot right there on the corner. He's Lebanese. We have a po' boy sandwich shop there. So this has became a neighborhood hub for this particular group of individuals. And so we built on that, but we have a used car lot in our neighborhood. We welcomed it, and then we saw an auto repair shop came in at a former gas station in our neighborhood. So I don't want to give our secrets away to you all, but we have had this development in our area because of this hub activity. It's a drawing card. So.
Well, you got no bar too. I mean, it's not unheard of that these things can work.
And N&J's yum.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know where
All right.
is.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. There you go, South Central.
Now what you need to do is market 81 like they marketed Route
Can we
66.
put a car lot over there by Pine Bay?
Sure. I own a piece of commercial ground there. You
Okay.
want to?
All right, let's move on. We are,
Trailer park across the street. What the
we're,
hell?
we're late. And I don't want to lose too much control here. All right. That being said, board agenda, anything going on in your neighborhoods that you guys would like to talk about?
I do.
Yeah, please.
I'm waiting here just a minute.
Okay,
I was just trying to figure out.
you're okay.
We were trying to figure out whether or not I needed to abstain from that vote.
It will be coming to, yes, it will be coming to you.
So I did abstain.
Are there more of these available somewhere? Because I don't want to take his.
On our website.
Oh,
Maddie,
well, I
I
mean-
can also, Maddie has that copy. She can get you another copy if you would like.
It was emailed in the DAB packet.
Yeah, I know, but I don't have a color printer.
Oh, yeah, you can keep one of them, Paul.
When it's finally approved, we'll have plenty of.
Magazines, yeah.
Oh, okay, fine.
Okay,
I would kind of like to have one for Friday, but that's okay.
Thank you, everybody.
thank you, Matt, appreciate it.
Yeah, our neighborhood association's on vacation until, March.
March,
We'll have our next meeting in 25.
sounds good.
And we do want to thank everybody for turning out.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, the park ribbon cutting, yeah. It was good, it was cold, but it was good, right? And I played on the equipment I wasn't allowed to be on, I guess, too.
Oh, my goodness.
Video of that, anyway.
It's, for free.
Oh.
We're in the far northeast corner of District 3.
Just wondering, since you're on
Yeah,
vacation.
Kellogg, Woodlawn.
Yeah, right.
1,200 homes in there.
Up there by Alberto's
So are
restaurant,
y'all
isn't it?
taking vacation until March, or
Say again?
are y'all on vacation until March?
Yes, we don't hold any meetings now.
Was it Cowboy Cleaners that was out there?
They go to the Bahamas.
Michael,
Well,
you
it
had,
gets dark, and we don't want to, and we got a lot of elderly people come to our meetings.
Michael,
Okay, I think most important thing in any community is lines of communication.
sure.
And we get together and talk about things, and we'll get things done.
Mhm.
On that note, on November the 19th is our general membership meeting in November of the Grandview Middle Association. And we have what I would call an open house where we're having our members bring dessert and the beverage of their choice because we don't know what to serve. And I would like to extend an invitation to anybody on the DAD, if you're in the neighborhood, on the 19th around 7 o'clock, or any of your members, please come by and enjoy some of our
That's at the
food.
Presbyterian Church?
Yeah, well, it's the center now.
It's called the center.
The center's right at the top of the hill. It's called the center.
Oh, but it's where,
Same place.
it's where DAP 3 or
Yeah, yes.
whatever, CPO 3 used to meet. Okay.
Outbuilding on the west side of.
Yeah, the little, yeah, right, okay.
Anyway, we'd like to see anybody there.
19th.
That's a great way to talk about to your neighbors and other associations and maybe get a free piece of pie.
And that's at what time?
7 o'clock.
Thank you.
Actually, it's 6:30, but I don't want Paul in the morning.
Nah, we're gonna make this 6:30 then.
No, if you, our meetings are always at 7.
It's 11 at night, Paul.
So.
Tell me it's on Wednesday or Thursday or Friday and I can't come. How's that?
Okay, cheers. Cheers.
Marco is asking you, what is it again that you're inviting people to?
It's an open house.
No,
We don't have, we won't have. I
It's
don't
our neighborhood association open house, holiday
And
bash.
we just have people bring desserts, their favorite dessert, pie, cookies, cakes.
I think I ended up taking my wife a rose last time I went.
Yeah,
It's about 2 weeks, from now. 7 o'clock.
Pretty good.
At East Mount Vernon. So if you live on the west side, you'll have to take the detours, because Mount Vernon is.
Yeah, South Roosevelt and East Mount Vernon, right at the corner there, there's a
Right,
church,
meet-
right?
meet the next
Right.
church.
Church, it's a house,
Sure.
like a clubhouse. and that's
Yeah,
where we'll-
an annex.
We'll get it. Okay,
Both sides, parking on north, parking on south.
Cindy?
Well, I just
we'll
want to
get it.
remind everybody that Veterans Day is coming up, and their Veterans Day parade will be this weekend at 11 o'clock. It'll run from Murdoch down Main Street and turn on East Lewis, so I hope you all will get out and support the veterans for, yes, this Saturday, for the service that they put in for our country.
Thank you for that. Richard, you had something you wanted to say?
Yes, why,
That was free.
why does the
Why not?
city- why does the city take 4-lane roads, turn them into 3 lanes or 2-lane roads,
Mhm.
and think that this is progress?
Okay,
That's what they're
so,
proposing for Douglas.
so city engineering has given us and I'm going to repeat what they say to me. Please don't argue with me about it because they're the experts, okay? Around the country, study upon study upon study has been done about how to make traffic move safer and more fluid. If you take a 4-lane road and you put a turn lane in the center and keep the outside lanes moving, keep the 2 lanes moving, you actually get a flow that is continuous because you don't have anybody stopping in front of you to make a left-hand turn, right? A lot of rear-end accidents happen that way when somebody has to cross and also it gives the illusion of being kind of squeezed in. It slows traffic down. And so safety is really the biggest portion of that, but it does, according to our traffic engineering, allow for better flow.
That might be out in the middle of nowhere, but you're talking about Harry and the river, so you get somebody that wants to cross. Oh, we're stopped. Go up to 21st and Broadway and go west on 21st Street. They cut the right-hand lane off. You get 3 cars wanting to turn left. You move 2 cars through that intersection in a light, and that's a long light. And that's the same thing I see happening at Harry and McLean, is you got traffic, you got foot traffic, and when that foot traffic stops and takes their time going across for whatever reason, right, that lane's gonna stop. And you got the traffic backed up, the people going left. It's all fine and dandy, I'm all about left turns, but instead of a 3-lane, it should have been 5 lanes.
Well,
So-
at that corner too, you
so-
got, remember, you got the water trucks, the city water department vehicles that are trying to get back to the yard.
You got CMF.
So city engineering, there are standards that have to be met for all of that. Traffic engineering has done studies on that corner to make sure that that can be accommodated. Also, again, I'm telling you what I've been told. Also, signalization is going to change a little bit to accommodate and make a better safe turn right there, right after you go across the bridge, because there's an issue right there, some safety issues going across the bridge. So, in that case,
Yeah.
so I know Ron has expressed his extreme displeasure
Several times.
several times.
I want 5 lanes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Also,
If you don't comply with a lot of the rules and regulations, you don't get federal funding either, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, federal funding does have strings attached to it on how you do things.
There are warrants, they call them.
But I don't know if that was the case here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just look at where they've done that in the past, and it's always been a cluster.
Yeah, Ron.
Get on my soapbox again. If you get 4 lanes of highway, going down to 2 lanes of highway, and going back to 4 lanes, you're gonna have a snafu there, as the Army used to say.
When you vote to adjourn, I vote yes.
Okay.
But
Absentee?
the one reason they said they could go down to 3 lanes is because that is an old neighborhood and there's no growth in the younger people in that neighborhood, so there won't be any traffic going across it.
Yeah, right. They don't travel that road very
And
much.
10 years from now, when all these youngins get youngins, we're gonna have 9,000 people in that neighborhood, but
Have urban sliding. in.
nobody looks down the road.
Okay.
I'm still against.
I know you are.
I agree.
Okay. Any other comments tonight?
Well, surely I can think of something unpopular to say, but instead I won't.
Thank you.
I make a motion to adjourn.
That was it. Motion to adjourn.
We have a
yeah.
motion and a second, and we know that Mr. Loop has already voted yes.
But he's not here.
All those in favor say aye. All those opposed. Motion carries. Thank you, guys.
You can come out now.